Welcome to the Hard-Won Wisdom Podcast with best-selling author Fawn Germer and corporate innovator Michelle Brigman. Come here weekly for career and life-changing conversations with some of today's most influential thought leaders, senior executives, and trailblazers who will share their mentoring wisdom. This podcast is brought to you by the Women's Leadership Network.
Hi, I'm Fawn Germer.
And I'm Michelle Brigman.
And this is the Hard-Won Wisdom Podcast. So, Michelle and I talk all the time. Yak, yak, yak. We're like a bunch of teenagers. And today we were talking about her teenager. And every time we discuss those motherly problems, I'm just so grateful she tells me all that, because then I'm so relieved I never had children, because I wouldn't know what to do with all of that. It's like I lived my whole life to get to be the perfect, wise person when I was after 50. And all those years of not knowing any of that stuff, I said to Michelle, why can't we implant a chip into younger people? And then they would just have all of this enlightenment when they're young and not have to learn things the hard way like we did. So we thought we would tell you what we would program that chip to include.
Yes. And I don't want to have the conversation of, yes, but that's what makes you who you are. I mean, like, that's not allowed today.
No.
I don't want to like positive mental attitude it. I just want to say, what do I wish I could put on that chip and actually have work? Listen.
Right. So let's hear it. What do you wish first? What were you thinking of when you said that?
Well, no, I can't. Okay, I'm laughing because the very first.
Hang on a second. Sonny, not during the podcast. He keeps having nightmares. I'm sorry.
The very first thing I wrote down, I could not say following up to what we just opened up with. Because here's
spit it out.
Okay, here's what I had very first thing on my list. You don't know what you don't know. So experiment and try new things.
Oh, yeah. Right. Sound a little Pollyanna there, huh?
No, I'm cracking
But that makes you who you are, Michelle.
Oh, hell. Okay. So
but that's true.
It is true, but save it for when you're like 20. Because I was thinking about it in terms of my son, who's 23, and I'm like, he's experimenting with like what his career path is and all that. And I'm like, this is what 20 is all about. Like, you don't know. So go try it and see what you love and what you don't. You're going to be smarter.
But you don't want to unleash a newly pubescent young one with the permission to try and experiment with everything. Good thinking. But you should give her this bit of wisdom from Aunt Fawn. Okay?
Ready.
Nerds rule. Now, this is a fact, because I did not realize that most people on the inside think that they're dorks, right? I have always known most of my life that I'm a dork, but I've worked it, right? I've embraced being a dork. But, when you're young and you're a dork, so you're like, okay, I was a band kid, and you had the jocks and the cheerleaders and all the popular people. And I played the flute in the band, and I wasn't real exciting. And I wore corduroy pants, and I just was a dork. And I just thought they all had some sort of mystique to them. But over time, as I grew older, I started to think about how many dorks there were in school as opposed to how many popular kids there were. And there were more dorks than popular kids. So who was more popular, right? It was the dorks. The dorks rule. And
they didn't know it. They don't know it.
They don't know it. They don't. And, I got out of school and went in my world. And of course, the nerds were the successful, trailblazing, bet it all and do it all. And a lot of the more popular people didn't do a whole lot. So it's good that they had their moment in the sunshine, right? But I would say to anybody, even if at this point even if you're in your 50s and you think you're a dork, woohoo for you. I have a friend.
You're the cool kid.
Right. Dorks are the cool kids. I have a friend in this town who, and I live in what used to be a small town in Florida and unfortunately was discovered. But she's one of our listeners. You know who you are. And she's one of the coolest people I ever met. But on the inside, she thinks she's a dork too. So I just think if you feel like a dork, embrace it.
Does anybody use the word dork now? Does our demographic?
Hey, Michelle, read between the lines. People.
You're such a dork.
Why wouldn't you use the word dork?
I don't hear it.
What's the word?
I don't know.
Well, but listen, you don't hear it. You're not out and about as much as I hear it. Dork is a word.
Do you hear it from 15-year-old dorks, or do you hear it? It's probably like nerdy. Nerdy's probably the right. This is where you all need to be watching this on YouTube because you're missing all the.
Yes, I have 3 fingers up, and I told her to read between the lines.
Between the two of us,
because there would be a middle finger left. All right, what's your wisdom, oh wise one?
Well, the one I'm learning now, and I wish I knew then, would be you are not responsible for other people's actions and attitude.
And happiness.
And yes. Happiness. You yes. are not responsible. That was like, I think if I had one, that would be.
That is. How'd you learn that?
Because I spent 50 plus years thinking
codependence.
Codependence and a child of alcoholic, like all these things, to where I thought my behavior, and if I did everything right, everything would work out well. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. I've just been on this realization of no, that I have no control over that. And let me tell you, the lift that is having as I'm learning it and getting stronger in that, I have no words for how empowering that is for me.
Yeah, that's very
And I see it happening with so many people that suffer from this.
If I could give her a chip and put it in her head that says be emphatic, and I think that would be so liberating actually for so many people. And I want to start with the idea of a cat, because and you don't have cats, but if you have a cat would knock down an entire cabinet of china and every plate would break and the cat would walk away like, well, I meant to do that every time. And if we could go through our lives being certain and emphatic like that, so that when you're having a dispute and you hold your own, even if you're unsure of it, and even if you're not sure that you're making your argument the best way possible, sound like you are so convinced, and people would believe that you are. So it's just be emphatic. That is almost more important than having all your ducks lined up.
So I like that one. That one's gotten me in trouble a couple of times because I've been very emphatic and I've been wrong. But damn, I can make a good stand and get everybody to buy in and follow me. And then all of a sudden, like, oops.
Oops. Well, then that's their problem.
But then we do what we did before. You just apologize.
All right. Oops.
Oops. Oh,
yeah.
Well, now we know we're smarter.
Yeah.
Another one is be kind, and be kind to everyone, and be kind. You don't have to be used by everyone, but be kind to everyone, because truly you don't know what's going on with them, and you don't know the difference that you might be making. Something that feels so insignificant can be just so meaningful for another person. And I mean, I've experienced that myself, and then I'm talking about my daughter again, but I mean, we were just even talking recently about someone at school that she helped out that needed help that nobody pays attention to or talks to. And she's like, suddenly this girl went from never speaking to now it's always telling her hello. And she's like, always, you can just tell it made a big impact. And so we had a whole conversation on that. I'm like, you have to be kind because you may be the only person that noticed her and people just want to be seen. So be nice. Be nice.
It's so much easier to be nice than to be rude. And yet there's this knee jerk these days where people just, turn on the ugly. That's a great lesson to be giving her. Yeah. And everybody. Okay. So, I swim at the Y every day. Of course, I forgot to go today, but almost every day.
I noticed. And you were calling me at unusual times today.
That's right. Well, I know I'm on a jag this week, but at the end of the swimming time is when the swim team comes in. So you get all these really young girls in there, and the drama of their friendships and who did what, and it's off the charts of how much they care, what every single one of these people care about them. And the slightest little thing is a class 10 emergency. And I always want to say to them, do you not realize that in 5 years, you're not even going to remember who that person is? Or that someday you're going to get your yearbook and you're going to look at all those names and you'll be like, huh? Who? What? And that if you're lucky, there will be one, maybe two people you know now that you will know later in your life, but probably not. And because it's not so important. So I just say, don't put too much energy in the drama because the players will constantly change.
Now, I'm the exception to that because, I'm very close to, even though I don't live near, but I'm very close to quite a few of my childhood friends.
It's true.
Yeah, but I like the sentiment of the players will change because you see so much of your self-worth and belief is tied up with what all these people think. So,
what just hit me was that I moved away from Florida when I was 15. And then I moved at 15, 16, 17. So I moved to Sarasota, and then my family moved to Bradenton. Then I went to community college. Then I went to undergraduate in one city, and then I went to graduate school in another city, and then I got my job somewhere else. So you know what? I think I may have just given bad advice because I was moving so much that maybe the players changed so much that there was no point in hanging on like that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's great. Although I have a lot of longtime friends, but most of them from once I got down to Florida. So, all right. Feel bad about that one. Okay. Go ahead.
Own your time.
Explain that too. I got one to go with that.
Yes, because today we are raised where we give up our time and our choice to do whatever everybody tells us is acceptable, the path to follow. You've got to go to college. You've got to make great grades. You've got to get married. You got to move to the suburbs. You got to have your 2.5 kids and then you get there. And for many people, you're like, what the heck is this? Because this is not what makes me happy. And what happens is you've been given away your time and how you use your time in a way that is not what is aligned to your core values and beliefs. So whenever you quit giving away your time and you use your time for what matters to you, you will free up your spirits, your attitude, your health, your availability, and you will give up so much stress by owning your time.
I've got one here that says time is worth more than money. So this is similar. It's not the same thing, but it's almost the same thing. Because I worked in a business where, you could get a lot of extra overtime. Mm-hmm. And one time I worked so much and the office manager said, well, was it even worth it? And I realized it wasn't. She became my best friend and then for life. But I always, when I had to choose between money and time, I would take the time as comp time, because you don't get your time back.
No.
And you're going to be a day older tomorrow. And if you're not in your 40s yet, you will be there soon enough. And then once you hit 40, your 40s last, somebody told me this, and it's true, they last about 15 minutes. And then your 50s are faster. Then I hit 60 and I was like, what? It's just careening out of control. So it's like Michelle says, you have to make choices that make you happy today. And you don't give it away just because you should or because someone expects you to. You create the life you want by controlling your time. That's a great one, Michelle.
On the same page on that one. Ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
People, that's doing a favor. People like to help people. And that's absolutely, and it helps you to learn. You don't have to pretend you know everything. That's so important.
It deepens the relationship you have with others. I mean, there's only goodness that comes out of asking for help. And we don't do it because we worry that we're going to be thought less of, when in fact, it's just the opposite.
Oh, I wrote a whole chapter on that in Mustang Sally's about how it's almost like you're doing a favor to the person by asking them for help, because it makes them feel so good about themselves. That is very, very true. Okay. Fail. Because so many people have such a death grip trying to avoid failure, and they don't take enough risks, and your risks define you. That's where you find the biggest success. So if you can't risk failing at something, then you're never going to know what your limits are. And especially young people, when I go out and I speak with them, I hear over and over again that they have this fear of failure. And so what? If you fail at something, you can always rebound and rebuild.
It doesn't end there, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't end there.
It doesn't. Everything that seemed like a failure wound up being a huge success. Well, maybe not my divorce, but I mean, we have a few hits and misses in life. But yeah, failure is not an ending. It's an absolute great teacher.
Yes, it is. It is. Eat real food. Cook and eat real food. Your body will be so much better. You'll run better. You'll sleep better. You'll feel better. Everything about that is better. You'll live longer. You'll be healthier. Just eat real food.
Okay, that is so true. And that is why I didn't go to the Y today, because I didn't eat real food. And usually I'm really good about that. And you know that. But you are
now that you have the great oatmeal recipe.
Oh, I made that. I had that real food. But no, Michelle, when you're not eating good food, you feel lethargic and lumpy, right? And that's where it starts. So then you skip the gym, which I did today. Okay, we know I'm on a roll here. And then, so you skip the gym, which makes you feel worse. And the only way to feel better after that is to get some sugar. And then you really have a crash. And then it just starts this thing. And, you could weigh 400 pounds in a matter of time if you don't switch back and start eating real food. That's a really good one. Yeah. Here's one that we've talked about before. We've done a whole show on it, but it's really so important. Every shitstorm ends. Every shitstorm ends. Every shitstorm ends. So no matter what it is, where life gets out of control or dramatic or difficult, sooner or later, you get beyond it. And when you're young, you don't see that. It just seems like things are so big. You get a little older, at some point it ends.
Yeah. At some point that this too shall pass. It's such a good one. Believe in and build a relationship to connect with God, Spirit, the Creator, like whatever it is that's bigger than you are, that energy holy, like I said, whatever you want to call it, but build the relationship, because that will be such a strong foundation in your ability to rebound, live fully, find happiness, trust.
I'm glad you said that one, because that is the most important relationship of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few relationships, right? But it is the one which I call God, and I don't care what you call it. And I hope you believe in something. I'm never going to tell you what to believe ever, but I hope you believe in something. And for me, none of this would have made any sense without it.
Yeah.
And I had a long relationship with an atheist, and that it's a really sad thing to see, because they have nowhere to go. It's very lonely. And if you are looking at spirituality to make sense, especially if you're logical or like me, an investigative reporter, so you want the facts, prove it, you're never going to have that. And it's, that is the leap of faith right there, is leaping into your faith. But, I reached a point in my life where I realized I believed deeply. And because anything can go wrong, and I just feel like I'm not alone, and that there is something bigger than me that will love me through anything. And that's,
This would be a good podcast, like talking about faith,
I've done that on a couple of the panels that I've moderated with senior executives and asked, but I'm very careful about ever asking that, because as we know, it's not PC to bring up someone's religion.
Mm-hmm.
And especially at a corporate event. But I always felt like if I was deep in the Bible Belt, it was okay to ask there. And
I wrote it down.
You what?
I wrote it down. I think we need to.
Yeah, but I asked in Bentonville, Arkansas, which we know it's in Bentonville, and I asked, what impact has do you have a spiritual connection? If so, how has that impacted your life? And there is a woman that spoke up on my panel and said, none of what I have accomplished would have happened if I didn't have that. And then one by one, everybody on that panel, I think there were 5 people on that, it was a big one, that every single one of them talked about how their faith helped them to be who they were and be successful. So faith isn't just for home emergencies. You can get a lot of support for the rest of your life too. And again, I don't judge you if you do or you don't believe. I just hope you've got something going on in there, right? Well, I talk about this a lot, which would be uncomfortable conversations. So I'll keep it brief, because I know I've said it before.
But it's still so good.
Yeah. Okay. So by the time I hit 50, I realized that most of the problems I had maneuvering things in life occurred because I was afraid to have an uncomfortable conversation. I would stay in relationships too long because I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I just, in workplace situations, I didn't want to make people uncomfortable. And when I was 50, I started to think an uncomfortable conversation only takes a couple of minutes. Seriously, just a few minutes. And I told this to somebody the other night. She lost a local election, or I should say she did not prevail. I actually think she won because she was the one who still had her integrity. But she had to make the concession call. And so she's holding the phone and everybody's like holding their breath, like, can she do this? And I looked at her and I says, it's an uncomfortable conversation that will take less than 3 minutes. Call them up and vomit it into the phone. And that's really what you do, is you just start the conversation and then end it. And she was thrilled to get his voicemail. She vomited in the phone. And then when she hung up, I ended it with a bite me and then a bad word after that. Right? But, if you just blurt out,
Needed you there for
say what?
she needed you there for that, because then you could say what she was probably feeling but couldn't say.
Oh my God. And when I said it, well, I mean, I don't want people to think I would say such a word like that. And we've got a really good podcast coming up on cussing, but this was a bad word. And I go, bite me. You know what word I'm thinking came after that? It begins with mother. Okay. Bite me, mother blank. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then right around me, there were 4 people who were significant leaders, and all at the same time, they all go, bite me, mother blank. And then we all had a good laugh. But, the conversation is always quick if you just do it, get it done. And
God, every time you say that, like you think you say it too much, that topic, but it's like every time you say it, I need to hear. It's like you can't hear that once. You got to hear that like all the time.
I'll be sure to repeat it again. But God, just blurt the stuff out. Get it over with. Don't stay in a bad relationship, a bad job. Say what you need to say. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. And I'm so proud that I've gotten so good at that now. It's sport to me. It's like, how fast can I do this one? Right. And it goes along hand in hand with that be emphatic thing too. So you just say it. Like there's not a lot of room for debate.
Right.
You're done.
Right. It's good stuff. All right. Quiet down. Listen and trust your gut, your intuition, because it will always put you on the right path. Always. So quiet down.
Most of the time, like if it always did, we would not wind up with divorces like we've had. Okay.
No, but how many people didn't trust their gut
and got married in spite of it?
And got married.
True. That is true.
I wore black to my first wedding.
You wore what?
I wore a black dress with my friends going, we can leave right now. We can leave right now and go. And I said, it's gone down. I'm too far down the road.
Oh my God.
Literally the conversation.
How much of your life did you lose because you didn't turn around?
Oh, I know.
No, seriously, how many years?
I know. 10.
Yeah.
Plus all the other swirl and drama that it caused.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents, my friend, like there was no one that there was no gray area. It was so obvious.
So, and your parents wouldn't even have cared if you had turned around and walked away?
No.
Wow.
Not at all.
That's
not at all.
It makes me so sad, but it's true. Is that if you really still yourself,
because then you need to have an uncomfortable conversation. Those two go along together.
Yeah. Just suck it up. I mean, I had a couple of friends who've not gone through at the last minute. And I'm sure it was very embarrassing. But, you got to be able to tease somebody about something when they get old. So we get the mileage out of that. But the other thing being that, thank God. Because if it's wrong, it's wrong. That is really good advice. Okay. A healthy body is a perfect body.
Yes. I had it on here about taking care of your body too. So
yeah, the most, well, this is more about how you see it. Because, when I do so much work on people and their self-esteem, and almost always it starts and ends with their body image. And everybody could do something to improve their body. I mean, everybody sees the flaws, but the truth is that you don't learn until you're sick how beautiful those flaws are if it's a healthy body. And, one of my besties just did not like her overweight body with the big boobs. And when she got breast cancer, she realized how perfect that body was.
Mm.
And, along with that, I've been really big and I've been really little in my life, with my weight. And it's interesting that I don't think it's ever going to be something that's completely conquered. And I wish I didn't have to fight that, but I do. And I just made a decision a long time ago that I would love myself through whatever I look like. And when I don't feel good, all I have to do is work out for 2 days and know that I'm on the right path, because it doesn't matter how much you have to lose. If you just start, you feel better.
Right. That's so powerful. And it is, you think about how much time and energy you waste criticizing your body. And we won't even get into the image and the, how society puts all this pressure. And then I think about like young people now. It's awful. It's awful. And to your point, that I love the healthy body is the most beautiful thing.
Perfect.
So good. One I had is be in service to others, give back, pay it forward.
You are so good about that, Michelle. You live by that. And that's what in the end is your legacy, because that you never see where that influence ends.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. You do it all the time too. I watch you all the time.
I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, but I had, when I needed to get endorsements for my book, and I sent the task out in my network, and the only person who delivered was Michelle, and she nailed it. Just did everything. What a great friend. And I hope at some point I am worthy of your friendship.
Oh my gosh. You do so much. So this is interesting. Did I tell you about a friend of a lady that worked for me in one of the previous companies? She has been through a lot, and I witnessed a lot in her situation. Well, she reached out to me recently because we keep in touch. It's funny, I build very strong relationships with the people on my team that last for many decades. But she reached out to me, and in the conversation, I'm kind of asking what's going on, and she had her son that
that's the one we all contributed to. Yeah.
Yes. So he needed help with tuition, and they couldn't come up with the final tuition, and she was down like $3,000. And so one message out to my friend group in Facebook, right? And she's now made it. And like, how awesome. This boy who has he's a cancer survivor. He was in remedial classes in school. He's actually published a book in high school he's published a book. He wants to write, like he has kind of found his calling, and he's in college, and they ran into financial situations. He'll be the first in the family to have gone to college. Like, it's so exciting, and how awesome to be a part of.
Right.
I mean, it opens up how much opportunity for him. And she is just, her reaction and her it's a beautiful thing. And why can't we help people that need a little lift, right?
Like, I would like for you to send a message out for me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, that's good. That is wonderful. We have to wrap, so I'm thinking maybe we can just kind of say the ones that we haven't said. You got some?
Love yourself. Love yourself, because you are enough. It's not tied to performance. It's not tied to perfection. It is tied to just, you are a gift and you are enough, period.
And period. End of sentence. You are enough. Yeah. All the bad bosses, and I guess this would also include bad people in your life that were in my life, were just players I allowed in my life. And I decided to work there for a certain amount of time. And then when I left, They had no control over my life in any way. So all of these people were just situational. And I think I learned that pretty young, because some of the players that I led in my life as bosses were people I loved too. And they were temporary, but they're just players. Another one is that arrogance is insecurity. It's hard because it's so infuriating when you see someone who's arrogant and they act like they're all that, and they are just weak people.
That one's good. That's good advice, because you tend to shy away from them when really you can meet what I want to say. You can step forward and not step back.
Yeah, I just think of the ones that I thought who were the worst, and over time they had so many problems, and then sometimes they would come to me and tell me, and I would just think, gosh, you were the biggest jerk. But it's because they were acting so arrogant. And
yeah.
You got another one?
I have two more. One is be curious, always learn, always learn. And then my final one was ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now make sure you say that clearly so people just do it first.
And then ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, right. We don't need to be asking for permission.
I've moved things so forward, like whether it's in my career or personally, when you just do it.
Yeah. I love that one. Okay. And I'm going to do these last two really quickly. One is the difference between a problem and an issue. We talked about that yesterday. An issue is something that seems like it's a big deal, but it's just something, because once you've had somebody who's gotten sick, or you're sick, or somebody has died, then you know what a problem is. Everything else is going to come and go, and it's an issue. That's one. And then I think we could end on this very important one. Cats are as good as dogs. Everybody knows I'm a dog person. I'm a dog person, except when I'm holding my cats. We can love all of them, which is a good model for the rest of humankind, is that we can love one another even though we're very different. So cats are as good as dogs. Oh, and one more is that the karma police come for everyone. And when people
my mama would give you a high five on that one.
Yeah, they do. The people who do you wrong, the karma police are going to come. Unfortunately, it's never right exactly when we want them to come, but they come.
That's true too.
Everybody gets what they got coming to them, just not on our timeline.
Okay, we'll have to end on one that just ends us, because I'm going for the last word here.
Oh, of course.
No. Surround yourself with amazing friends.
Yeah. Isn't that the best part of life?
Yep. And I'm grateful for you, my friend.
Oh, I'm grateful for you. We have so much fun, and I love doing this podcast. And if you all can tell, we have so much fun with this friendship. It grows every single day.
Oh, and yes.
Many of you listening to this are my friends too.
I know. I want to know our list. We have a lot of friends that we know and some that we don't. So I look forward to it.
We'll have to do a live. We'll do a live event with everybody. That's what we should do, a live podcast.
All right, there we go.
In the meantime, well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining the Hard Won Wisdom podcast with best-selling author Fawn Germer and corporate innovator Michelle Brigman. Join us weekly for career and life-changing conversations with some of today's most influential thought leaders, senior executives, and trailblazers who will share their mentoring wisdom. This podcast is brought to you by the Women's Leadership Network. Visit hardwonwisdom.com for more on this podcast and for links to Fawn and Michelle's web pages and social media. Also, be sure to rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll see you next week.